Wednesday, December 25th. Hitler travels to France to meet with Admiral Darlan in Beauvais on the banks of River Tarn. Later, he visits Wehrmacht troops stationed on the coast of the English Channel. In Boulogne, the Führer's special train, America, must be hidden from the attacks of British bombers. Walter von Brauchitsch, the commander-in-chief of the OKH, the high command of the army, addresses his soldiers over the radio. He reminds them that last Christmas they were facing the Maginot Line, the great defensive wall that was supposed to protect the French, and ends by saying that, "Now we are facing the sea, which protects the British, so long as Germany allows it to." Grand Admiral Erich Raeder congratulates all members of the Kriegsmarine. At the same time, Joseph Goebbels calls on Germans to make even greater efforts and assures them that after the war, Germans will enjoy well-being and happiness. In London, King George VI thanks the Americans for their help and says that in the coming year, the British people will face the future with greater confidence in the struggle for justice and peace. In Washington, President Roosevelt declares over the radio that America wishes to contribute in a peaceful way to the creation of a new world of harmony. Thursday, December 26th. After a short respite, the Luftwaffe resumes its bombing campaign against major British cities. The Isle of Sheppey in the Thames estuary is hit hardest. Coastal defense fortresses are located in the area. In the Greek-Italian War, small skirmishes take place at different points along the Albanian front, while British planes bomb the airport of Valona and Corfu in the Ionian Sea. In Tokyo, Emperor Hirohito, who has no real political power, declares in the House of Peers that the Japanese people must be united in the service of the nation in the global conflict which is being waged. In North Africa, British planes bomb Italian positions in Libya, in Tamimi, Gazala, and Tripoli. In the naval war, U-95, commanded by Gerd Schreiber, torpedoes the British refrigerated ship Waitira, 400 miles off the Irish coast. Later, U-38 attacks and sinks the same vessel. Friday, December 27th. In Washington, 150 leading academics send a letter to President Roosevelt urging him to take a firmer line against the Axis powers and to do whatever is necessary to ensure their defeat. Roosevelt, who is aware that Japan is preparing to expand southwards, tells the press that the government is studying methods which will enable the automobile industry to manufacture 500 metal combat planes a day. He also announces that American citizens living in Japan will be advised to leave as soon as possible, and American ships will not be allowed to enter Japanese ports. In North Africa, the air and artillery battles continue to rage in the border areas of Cyrenaica, while British reinforcements continue to arrive in preparation for the forthcoming offensive against Bardia, where the terrain favors the defender. In the Middle East, German agents received support from a nationalist Iraqi group led by Rashid Ali, who has many followers among the Arab intelligentsia who accuse the British government of allowing too much Jewish immigration to Palestine. Saturday, December 28th. The situation of the Italian troops in Albania is desperate. Mussolini, fearing that they might be wiped out by the Greeks, urges Hitler to intervene to avoid disaster. The Nazi leader, impatient with Mussolini and focused on the preparations to invade the Soviet Union, decides to save the honor of the Duce and to stop the British from threatening the oil of the Balkans. Joseph Goebbels publishes an article in the Volkischer Beobachter, the official Nazi newspaper, entitled, "What is Churchill Imagining?", in which he blames Britain for causing the war and accuses the Prime Minister of serving Jewish interests. In the Battle of Britain, after the relative tranquility of the Christmas period and focus on reconnaissance flights, the Luftwaffe renews its attacks against London with incendiary bombs. Meanwhile, the RAF focuses its raids on French territory, striking Cherbourg, Lorient, Bordeaux, and Saint-Nazaire. From Tokyo, Soviet spy Richard Sorge informs the Russian government that the Germans are concentrating more than 40 divisions in the Leipzig area. In Libya, artillery and air battles continue between Allied and Italian troops. Heavy fighting also takes place on the border of Sudan and Kenya. Sunday, December 29th. The American President Franklin Roosevelt, in an end-of-year speech broadcast on the radio, highlights the danger presented by the tripartite pact signed in September by Germany, Italy, and Japan. Germany envies the wealth of America, he says, but with Britain alongside, they have the strength and the resources to resist Hitler's aggressive ambitions. The people of Europe who are defending themselves do not ask us to do their fighting. They ask us for the implements of war, the planes, the tanks, the guns, the freighters, which will enable them to fight for their liberty and for our security. We must be the great arsenal of democracy, he declares. The President says America must help Britain and to all those fighting the Axis powers. Roosevelt is confident that most Americans agree with the Lend-Lease Act, one of the most important decisions of his time in office. He trusts in the solidarity of U.S. citizens, to whom he wishes to convey the message that one nation can help to defend another. Hitler and his Third Reich consider the U.S. President's speech a declaration of war. During the night, a massive attack on London by German planes using incendiary bombs destroys 8 historic churches designed by Christopher Wren. volunteer firemen managed to save part of St. Paul's Cathedral from the flames. Monday, December 30th. Hitler, convinced that Luftwaffe bombers using bases in Italy can operate against the British fleet in the Mediterranean, orders Operation Mittelmeer. From Norway, the first contingent of the 10th Air Corps Fliegerkorps arrives in Sicily, commanded by General Hans Geisler, an expert in operations against shipping. In the Battle of Britain, German planes attacked the port and base at Plymouth in southeast England, and the engine factory of Rolls-Royce in Crewe, one of the most important centers in the country. In London, after a deluge of incendiary bombs, the Guildhall, the financial and commercial center, based in the heart of the city, goes up in flames. In the Sea War, the year has been one of great successes for the U-boats. Among others, Otto Kretschmer, Gunther Prien, and Wolfgang Luth have been decorated for the number of ships sunk in the convoys crossing the Atlantic to Great Britain. Vice Admiral Karl Donitz has not given up hope of obtaining more submarines to effectively develop the Wolf Pack tactic and achieve a complete blockade of Britain. On the other hand, Grand Admiral Raeder, the head of the Kriegsmarine, has made great efforts to prove the importance of surface naval warfare. Merchant vessels have been turned into disguised warships, and the tactic of striking suddenly, sinking enemy boats, and swiftly disappearing has been developed. Tuesday, December 31st. Hitler and Foreign Minister Ribbentrop are aware that their efforts to unite Europe against Britain have been a complete failure. On his last day of the year, a number of leading figures of the Third Reich make official statements. The Führer, in a radio speech, continues to blame the Jews and the British for causing the war, and declares that Germany will achieve victory in 1941. Hermann Göring thanks Luftwaffe pilots for their courage and dedication and calls on them to continue the struggle and to finish the work Hitler has begun so that the German people can live in peace. Grand Admiral Raeder addresses members of the Kriegsmarine and promises that the Navy will fight till final victory. For his part, Field Marshal von Brauchitsch and Commander-in-Chief of the Army calls on his soldiers to defeat all of their enemies in the coming year. In spite of the different messages, some in the high command are fully aware of the weaknesses of the Luftwaffe in its struggle against the RAF. This year, the Battle of Britain has cost 1,773 German aircraft, while the British have only lost 600. The total victory promised by Hitler has not materialized. The failure of the Italian troops in Greece and North Africa and the planned invasion of the Soviet Union create an uncertain outlook for the coming year.